marriage of a thing, if you don't understand it and you get into it, you will suffer yourself. So this lady has a best friend. They've been friends since childhood. Like, they do everything together. They went to the same secondary school together. They went to the same university together. So they've been best friends since childhood. Anything she gets, she tells her best friend. Anything she gets, she tells her best friend. So she got a boyfriend. She told her best friend about it. Anything the guy does for her, she will tell her best friend. Like, she took this bestie as a sister, that she tells her everything. You understand? So this guy she had, this boyfriend of hers, proposed marriage to her. Told her he wanted to marry her. She accepted. They planned the marriage. Her best friend was aware. She told her best friend about it from day one. So after they did the marriage ceremony, she was still talking to her best friend. Anything her husband would do for her, she would tell her best friend. Everything, like, she trusted her best friend so much that she didn't even, some things are there, she doesn't even tell her family members like she do with her best friend. You understand? So few months after the marriage, she stopped hearing from her best friend. She didn't know what was going on. She even told her husband about it. She was like, I don't hear from my best friend again. Anytime I call her, it doesn't go through. So the husband was like, maybe she's busy or something. So she said, okay. She still decided to call her. She called her and then she got through. Like, the best friend picked. And she was like, nowadays I call you, you don't pick. Sometimes it doesn't go through. What is it? She was like, oh, nah, I've been busy. That's why. So don't worry. I'll find time to call you. Then we talk more. So she was like, okay. So few weeks, a month, 2 months, she still calls her best friend. She still gives her excuses and all that. Until a year down their marriage, getting to 2 years, she doesn't even hear from this best friend at all. Like, she doesn't hear from her again. So she stopped bothering herself because the best friend doesn't bother herself looking for her anymore. So some few months later, she was there and then her husband came and was like, oh, he wants to go and visit his parents. So the lady was like, oh, since you want to go and visit my in-laws, let me go with you. He was like, no, he's going on Thursday and he'll come back on Tuesday. And she was like, you go on Thursday and come back on Tuesday. Won't you go to work? He was like, oh, he has already asked permission and they've granted him the permission. So he can go and come back on Tuesday. So Wednesday, he'll start going to work. And the reason why he even took that long, this thing is, his uncle is back from abroad and he wants to see him. He wants to buy some lands and all that. So he wants him to help him out. That's why he took that long break. So the lady was like, oh, since your uncle is back, let me go with you so that I go and greet him. You know, since we got married, I've not met him before. I just hear of his name. He was like, oh, don't worry. He himself, there is a land I told him about over here. So he will come here. After we are done with the other one, he will come here and then he will see you and then you will greet him. You will know him. She was like, okay, no problem. So she was the one who even packed his clothes, his things. She even told him to wear native. Like, she ironed the clothes. She packed everything for him. And then the next day, that was Thursday, he set off. She called, she wished him a safe journey and then he left. So in the evening, she was expecting his call. It didn't come. She called and called and called. It wasn't going through. She called his mom and then the mom was like, yeah, he has come. But he's with his uncle and he's charging his phone. His phone is off. But whenever he comes back, she will tell him to call her. She was like, okay. So when he came back, his mom told him and then he called his wife. They talked. The next day, Friday, he did not call. She called. It didn't go through. She called the mom again and it was the same story that he has gone out with his uncle. So in the evening, she called him back again and then he picked and was like, he's sorry that he was busy and he and his uncle has been moving around and all that. That's why he hardly picked her calls. And she was like, okay, no problem. So Saturday in the morning, she was there and she had a knock on the door. So she opened the door and then it was 2 family members from her husband's side and 2 family members from her side. She was shocked. She was surprised and she was afraid. She was like,